Alright, so last lesson we were looking at software development and the waterfall model. However, there are others and you need to be aware of quite a few others. So you might have heard of spiral programming methodologies or agile methodologies, and these days you've even got extreme. It sounds like something out of World Wrestling Federation, but we're going to be looking at all of those, and we're going to be looking at a very popular one called rapid application development. So let's put 5 minutes on the clock and let's make it happen.
Okay, so let's have a look at extreme programming. We're going to have a very brief overview of this. I would suggest you pause and read through the slideshow to make it easy for you to understand. But extreme programming is essentially taking a program and trying to reduce the amount of time it takes to produce the final program. And you do this by working in pairs. So two programmers work together. One is the driver, who's actually doing the coding, and the other one is the navigator who looks at the code being produced by the first programmer and looking for improvements. And therefore what this means is that code can be taken and produced very quickly over a very short period of time. Now extreme programming uses very short life cycles, okay, typically 1 week or a month or a day or whatever it might be. The nice thing about this is that you don't need a fully functioning system. You just need to produce a prototype which is given to the client to look at, or a team to look at, and then any weak points are found and redeveloped the following day or the following phase. So this is very easy to think about. You just take some part of the programming that you've done, you test it, you check it, you move on to the next one, you get some feedback and so on. And it means that you can produce a partially working program pretty quickly and then a fully working program a little later on. Now the spiral model is very similar to the waterfall model, except that it uses these stages: the identification, design, build and evaluation stage. And the idea behind it is very straightforward. You are in a spiral, which means you go through these 4 stages on and on and on and until the final process is completed. Now, each time the cycle is done, the customer supplies feedback, and risk analysis looks at the possibility of overruns of time and money and so on. So you identify the first issues, you design it, you build it, you analyze it with the customer, and then you make changes by identifying the next stage and designing it and building it and evaluating it. And this is quite a nice method because there's lots of feedback involved, but that's all that's taking place. You carry out an analysis, you code it, you plan the next phase, you review it, you risk it, you engineer it, and you go through this spiral model on and on and on until each part of the code has been generated in small chunks and the customer is involved or the client is involved in the feedback stage. So the awesome benefits and drawbacks, you might want to pause this and have a quick read and understand it. But the key benefits here is that the prototypes are being produced, and the spiral model allows you to check resources, check time, check money, check feedback each time you start the next part of the spiral. But that's something for you to pause and have a look at. The last 2 things I want you to spend some time looking at is rapid application development. This again is very similar to the 2 methodologies discussed earlier, and the idea is that you take the requirements from the user, you develop a prototype, and you're developing the most critical parts of the system first, you evaluate it, and then once the user is happy, it becomes a final product. You don't keep different versions of the prototype. It's one prototype which just is developed over time into the final actual application. That's the key thing. So rapid application development is the software development process that actually relies heavily on programming, and it does this in a very small amount of time, hence why it's called rapid application development. Okay, and this was actually developed because the waterfall model took too long. The awesome benefits and drawbacks, you might want to pause this video and have a read through those. RAD is a good way of producing projects very quickly, but of course there are some drawbacks there which you need to be familiar with. I'm not going to read those now because you can do that by pausing this video.